A very warm welcome to the channel, where today our subject is planning and flying an approach into Dalaman. For interest, our route originated in Gatwick and we're using the FlightFactor A320. I do note that EasyJet use a variety of the fleet, so if, as I hope, this video stimulates you into understanding a bit more about your aircraft systems, why not try something like the Neo 320, 321, 319 or 737. Let's just have a recap of the 3-to-1 rule, which I'll refer to during this video. And that states that for every 1,000 feet of altitude you want to descend, you need approximately 3 nautical miles. Let's begin, and I'm showing you the ground chart, which shows that apart from a few feet, Dalaman is at sea level with one operational runway, 01 and 19. And it's the RNAV approach into runway 19 that's the subject of this video, as the star takes us over very high mountainous regions with terrain in some parts rising to over 10,000 feet. So just to give you the objectives of the video, and it's to prompt a greater awareness of flying your star and an interest in advanced use of in this case, the FMS, but you could also do this in an FMC if you were flying a Boeing. So when I reviewed the chart, I noticed the first fix on the RNAV approach is at flight level 90, maximum 210 knots. And on evaluating the distance to fly to touchdown, which is approximately 27 nautical miles, my first thought, based on the 3-to-1 rule, is we need to be slower than 210 knots, which is a maximum speed we can fly. So, according to this fix here, we can fly slower than 210 knots, but we can't, of course, be any lower than flight level 90. So based on a distance of 27 nautical miles and thinking that during that distance we'd be slowing down and intercepting the RNAV guidance, we'd need to be slower than 210 knots. Okay, so on looking at that initial point there, at flight level 90, I've decided that we need to be a lot slower than 210 knots, and that's based on the fact that for that distance of 27 nautical miles we're going to want to slow down anyway, and we are just required to keep descending to meet the various waypoints that you can see. So I'm going to amend via the FMS that we'll come on to. I'm going to amend that and choose 190 knots there, which of course will necessitate probably config 1. I then reviewed the star, checking whether we've got enough distance to go down and slow down, and I've just made further modifications in the FMS that I'm just showing you now on the screen. So if you'd like to see how to make those adjustments in the FMS, do let me know and we can plan to cover that in a future video. Okay, so we have begun descent. The modes that we're using at the moment are managed, so everything's managed: speed, heading and the altitude. So just to show you on the PFD, we've got thrust idle, DES and nav, and if we have a look over at what the engines are doing, they're currently showing in idle. Just want to have a look at the PFD, and in particular the altitude tape on the right hand side there of the PFD, where I'm moving the mouse. So we've got the little green dot there, the little green ball as I've started to call it. That's just lower than the centre at the moment, and that just means that we've got a slight vertical deviation happening. What's significant about that? It just means that we are slightly higher than the VNAV profile. So I'm just going to keep an eye on that at this stage, and if necessary we'll just apply a bit of speed brake, but we'll just see how we get on for now. So I've gone ahead, just a little bit of speed brake, and you can see now the green ball there is just returning back to the centre. So we'll just go ahead, we'll stow the speed brakes. Okay, green ball is in the middle, still got thrust idle, descent and nav, and we're heading now to sewn up. Just going to zoom in there to the navigation display. So sewn up 31 miles, flight level 170, and looking at the navigation display, looks like we are on track to meet that. Not far now from flight level 170. I'm just using a different mode at the moment called open descent, and what that allows me to do is do a descent under idle power but we'll talk more about that on a future video. So here we are, and what we should find now, let's just zoom into the navigation display. Speed Alt, I'm going to go back into managed altitude, and now it's gone into speed. With only 5 miles to go, it's now, you can see now the commanded speed has come down to 290 knots. We are next going down to 160. I can select that on the FCP, push the button, and we'll go down in managed descent mode. So we're just arriving at Sonup, making a right turn on our way to BS 705 and 706. So here it goes, thrust idle, descent. So we've gone thrust idle, but we've still got over 70% there, N1. I'm just going to pull the thing, the altitude knob there. Let's just go down in an open descent. I don't want to sit here chewing up miles thinking, oh, why is it not doing that? Let's go on a forum and ask, you know. If it's not doing something that we expect, or we just want to fine-tune it, let's go ahead and do that. You're the pilot. Let's put the terrain radar on. Going to meet 160 now. Here we go. Speed, Alt. Now I've actually assumed there got a responsibility for the vertical navigation part of this, so I'm just going to push the altitude knob again. So now it goes back into Alt Star, and can zoom in again. So 7.5 miles before we need to be at 240 knots. So it's now selected 240 knots. And so we'll just fly straight and level until we get to BS 706. Green dot there is just falling down nicely. Let's go ahead and we're going to select our next altitude or flight level of 140. I'm going to push that. So we've got speed, des, nav, thrust idle, and down we go towards Ockman at flight level 140 and still at 230 knots. So you see there is just a little bit slower than 240 knots. So I would expect the rate of descent there probably just to be a bit higher, maybe, just as it tries to attain that speed. I mean, it's only a few knots, so may or may not do so. So we're just making a left turn there as we get to Ockman. We've now set 110. Probably noticed the vertical speed mode activated on there just very briefly. That was just while I was selecting a lower altitude. I just selected 110 and pushed, and that just makes sure that we remain in managed alt mode. So down we go again to Ockman. So at the moment the descent is a priority. It's going to go down to 110, and then we're going to slow down to, my apologies, that previous waypoint name is Boonan, isn't it? I don't know where I've got that one from, just imagined it. Boonan is what we're going towards now for flight level 110. Okay, so same as before. As we level off, rate of descent gets shallower, and it can now use this to start to reduce the speed. So you see here how it's selected. It's actually selected 210 knots. So what I might do is go into selected speed. Of course, it's not going to select a speed lower than green dot anyway. Let's have a look. We did brief as well, so you can expect me to call for config 1 in a moment. If you have a look there, that little where I'm wiggling the mouse, once you are below that, in this case we can extend the config 1. So let's go ahead and do that. Speed checks, config 1. Let's just see where it's holding the speed there. Going to set 90. I'm going to pull the speed there, and we're going to go down to 190 and push. So arriving at Boonan, as I said to you earlier, early intervention. If something's not happening, we haven't got many miles as this, we've designed this approach to meet the altitudes and go as slow as we possibly can. So therefore, if something's not happening right, we'll just call it out and intervene. So managed descent, selected speed for now. It's just pulling that speed back now. So 190 is the sort of slowest I can go here, around about 190. That's before we have to take config 2. And now we are just getting just a bit high. Speed brake to the rescue. There's another little trick that I could have used there, but it does get involved going a bit faster to achieve a faster rate of descent, which I don't want to do. So we've got 3 miles to get to Atmon, and looking now, the next one is flight level 65. We'll dial that in. And we'll just go with more speed brake. So there's a slight issue now. We are just got ourselves just a bit too high. So I'm going to now go into open descent, just so that we are guaranteed idle thrust there until we meet an altitude. It's probably not what you want to be doing around here with the altitude constraints that we've got, but needs must. Still using speed brake. I've selected config 2. That's allowing us to descend a lot faster once you get over that initial ballooning. Plenty of drag now going on. I'm not sure what the kind of do not exceed config setting is to speed brake setting. I know certainly speed wise we're okay, but something there for me to research. So down now to 3,400 or 34, and let's go ahead with the QNH setting, which is 1012. So we can't select config 3 at the moment. You see here where these little orange equal bars are. So below that we could select config 3. The next item we've got that we're going to use is to go gear down. And then we'll select 2,500 here. And things may happen quite quick here. What I'm going to do now is arm the approach mode. What we don't do on this approach is put the localizer displays on here, what you would traditionally do for a ILS approach. Okay, so we can see we've got a vertical deviation. We've got speed and final approach mode. Let's just twiddle the speed selector down. See now that the deviation's coming back up. It does make a sort of left turn here. Kind of looks like you're going to land parallel to the runway, but I'll just have to I will be hand flying very shortly. Okay, so now we're going to go back into manage speed and retract the speed brake there. And we can now take config 3, speed checks. And what we should be able to do now is set the missed approach of flight level 90. Just noting there that we are still following our final approach there. Speed is now coming back, so that's fine. Let's go ahead, we'll arm the spoilers. Let's put everything on up here. I didn't do it earlier because I just wanted to retain the camera position. Flap full then, please. See the bit of ballooning going on? And what I am now going to do is go and take out the flight directors. That's just a me thing, probably because I'm not understanding a few things right. And we will now disconnect the autopilot. I'm going to leave in the auto thrust. Actually, you know what? Let's fly it like a Cessna. Bit more throttle. Less throttle.
500.
It's a shame about the lining up there with the runway.
400. 100 above. 300. Minimum.
Continue.
200.
So it will be a bit high, but nothing
100.
nothing major.
50. 40. 30. 20. Retard. Retard 5.
It's a little bit firm. So we have reversers and auto brakes, so let's go ahead. Stow the reverse. Let the auto brake do its work until we're down to about 30 knots. Manual braking. Ouch, 349 feet. I think the main thing with this was to show you the approach, which I think we the descent and the approach, which I think we got that incredibly well. And remember, no butter here. Right, flight time, 3 hours and 35 minutes. Let's come down here to about 10 knots. Fairly sharp turn there to the right and back to the terminal. That will just give us time to the lights. Okay, welcome to Dalaman. Just give the thrust on there as we come round that corner. Let's have the plane just accelerate, there we go. And terrain radar off. And the other radar off. Transponder off. See now the display, it goes nice and crisp again. So topic for another day anyway. Right, hopefully you enjoyed that. Fuel on arrival was 3.1 tonnes, and all important figures for everyone. Let's go ahead and look at stable approach. Not shared flight, stable approach. Well, if we were in the touchdown zone, so let's have a look. Threshold crossing height, we were a bit high, and then that's probably why I sort of whacked it into the ground a bit there. So I was just focusing on the touchdown zone when the sink rate was a bit higher. Okay, so no deviation on the centre line, threshold distance, yep, so we was in the touchdown zone. Pitch attitude, I am happy with that, happy indeed. You don't need a smooth landing to end a good flight, but I know, it's nice when it does. Okay, thank you again for viewing. Hope you enjoyed the content. Please do like and subscribe. Any comments or questions, let me know, and I will see you soon on a future video. Take care, bye bye.